The Chicago Cubs are in desperate need of this. Where will they get it from, though? We'll talk about it right after this. Hello, Chicago Cub fans out there. It's your boy, Mike Jones, back again with another episode of Chicago Cubs Central, your number one spot for all things Chicago Cubs. Also, the home and of the voice of the Chicago Cub fan. So I appreciate each and every last one of you that are tuning into this episode, whether it be on X, whether it be on Spotify, Apple, or whether it be on YouTube. Thank you so much. Go ahead and hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and definitely hit the notifications button on all different social media apps. That way you never miss an episode of Chicago Cubs Central. Remember, this is your number one spot for all things Chicago Cubs. Listen, I want you guys to do me a favor. If you want the Chicago Cubs to win the Central Division, if you still believe, even after this terrifying loss to the Seattle Mariners, dropping 2 of 3, if you believe that the Chicago Cubs can still come through and win a division, I need you to go ahead and hit that like button. Please do that favor for me. I appreciate you guys so much. We are trying to steadily grow this channel and get the views up and everything like that. You know, just providing you guys with the quality Cubs content 7 days a week, no days off, just providing you guys with straight up Cubs content. Now, with that being said, this episode is actually going to be a little bit longer than majority of the episodes that I drop. Why? Because A, it's a Sunday. B, we got a huge series coming up. And then C, the Chicago Cubs right now, I feel, are at a turning point in their season. Now, again, the Chicago Cubs are going to go through highs and lows throughout this season. The Chicago Cubs have been riding a terrific high throughout this season so far, and they still have a pretty damn good record, if I do say so myself. The Chicago Cubs are still amongst the league leaders in the MLB right now at a 46-31 record. They are right there in the NL with the Dodgers, with the Mets. They're still right there. They have not fallen off of a cliff yet. But for all of those naysayers and all the people out there that are upset that Chicago Cubs dropped 2 games to the Mariners, if they're upset that Colin Ray is still in the starting pitching rotation, if they're upset that Ben Brown is probably going to pitch tomorrow against the Cardinals, if they're upset that the Chicago Cubs just have not been able to take advantage of the wind as did the Seattle Mariners and the Brewers over the last 4 games, then we got a lot to talk about. We have a lot to talk about because the Chicago Cubs guys are still on all fronts having a fantastic season. And I'm not here to tell you that the Chicago Cubs are absolutely a shoe-in to win the NL Central. I'm not here to tell you the Chicago Cubs are absolutely a shoe-in to even get a wild card spot. What I'm telling you is for a long time, we have not had fun baseball, meaningful baseball at Wrigley Field. And I know that there seems to be 2 different subgroups of Chicago Cub fans. There are the Chicago Cub fans that are the sky is falling, and every single time the Chicago Cubs will drop a series, they will come and they will say, damn it, the Chicago Cubs didn't do enough. Man, Jed Hoyer needed to get more trades in. Man, Alex Bregman would have looked great right now on this squad, especially a squad that's struggling to hit. And then there's the other side that's just like, chill. It's going to be all right. The Chicago Cubs are going to figure it out. We're going to make trades. And I'm not going to lie to you. On this channel, I have talked to both sides. And that's because on different occasions, depending on the loss and what the loss means, you know, you have to take it at face value. And so for me, I look at the Chicago Cubs right now, and I'm looking at a team that is at a potential turning point in the season. You can mark this next series, the St. Louis Cardinals 4-game set with the Chicago Cubs. And I've already seen it on X. There are people on there tweeting already saying, listen, by the end of the week, the Brewers will have the division because the Brewers do have an easier schedule. But easier doesn't always mean better. I mean, like I said, they do got the Colorado Rockies they're playing up against this week coming into Milwaukee. They also have another easy series. I think it might be the White Sox or something like that. And meanwhile, the Chicago Cubs will be fighting for their lives. They will have they will play the St. Louis Cardinals for 4 and then travel down to Houston to H-Town, baby, and do 3 down there before they return back home to Chicago in the next week. I'm not here to tell you either or. I'm not here to try to persuade you either or. I'm here to tell you that you're at a potential turning point, and how you feel is how you feel. That I can completely understand the PTSD of Chicago Cubs fans for the past 2 seasons of damn near, to quote our illustrious owner, just breaking even. And I'm not here to tell you that you're wrong and being upset at the fact that the Chicago Cubs could not pull out this series against the Mariners. And the fact that Sunday's game was a blowout. I'm not here to tell you that you're wrong for that. I'm not here to tell you that you shouldn't be upset about that. There were clear signs in this, including the fact that Matt Shaw took a day off Saturday and the Chicago Cubs won. And then Sunday, Dansby Swanson took a day off. So the first point that I want to talk to in this game, in this episode, is that the Chicago Cubs did lose a winnable series. It was a 50-50 against a 50-50 Marlins. Mariners. I said Marlins. They lost this series because the Mariners, had a game-ready Cal Riley, who has hit 31 home runs. I mean, 3 in this series, point blank period. He set the tone. Friday, he set the tone. Saturday, he set the tone. Sunday, he set the tone. And he was not on any games. He saw great success against Chicago Cubs pitchers who were not ready for the weather change. Let's call it what it is. The Chicago Cubs pitchers were not ready for the weather change. The weather heated up, the wind started blowing out, and the Chicago Cubs pitchers were just not ready. And so you look at this and you see to yourself, okay, what did the Chicago Cubs need more of? Well, I mean, I think it's pretty simple to tell you. Even if your pitchers are going to suffer because of the fact that the wind is blowing out, the best you could do is make the other team's pitchers suffer too. And I feel like the Chicago Cubs hitters did not take advantage of this in this series. Chicago Cubs hitters, that 5 through 9 spot really struggled. PCA had a bad Friday game too. But the 5 through 9 spot really struggled this whole series long. Carson Kelly has come back down to earth, everybody. Hi, this is the Carson Kelly that was from last year. This is the Carson Kelly that wasn't really lauded by a lot of teams or wanted in free agency. The guy we saw for the first 2 months of the season that was kind of more so a mirage. Carson Kelly has come back down to earth, guys. This is who he is. He'll get you some base hits. He'll get you some doubles. He's a hard hitter. But that home run stuff, that was not foreseen. And it was a lot of the big reason why Chicago Cubs players why the Chicago Cubs were winning so many games. I mean, but you also have seen now Craig has moved the catcher spot back up in the row in the batting order. There's a reason for that. Because it has not seen the success that it was seeing at the beginning of the season. I mean, he had moved Carson as low as the 4th spot at one point. The Chicago Cubs sorely miss Miguel Amaya, who, as from everything I've heard, is not even close to being ready to return back. He won't be back until sometime maybe right before the All-Star break. You might get lucky and get him back, but more than likely, you'll probably see Miguel Amaya after the All-Star break. But you sorely miss his hitting, and you hope that he can actually redevelop or redefine his swing even more and see some of that success. But the Chicago Cubs are from 5 through 9. Swanson will give you a home run here or there. And will give you some base hits, but he's up and down. Nico Hoerner, as great a defense as Nico Hoerner plays, and he plays some damn good defense. Can't even lie to you on that. Nico Hoerner is becoming a liability on this team. If he's not being able to spray that ball around from left to right and get base hits, because he ain't giving you no home runs. And from everything we heard on the broadcast today, he told Elise Miniker that he isn't even looking to get home runs. He's focused right now is because he's found the sweet spot with being able to, when you have runners in scoring position, to be able to drive them in, which he has still had success with that. 33 RBIs on the season is nothing to sniff at. However, when you're in front of Dansby, when you're behind Dansby Swanson and he's striking out, or you're behind, or you're behind PCA and he's popping out, well, then, I mean, like I said, or you're behind Michael Busch and he's striking out, you don't have anybody to drive in. There's nobody in scoring position. So then that affects Nico Hoerner's ability to be able to drive runs in. And then he just either becomes a base hit or a pop out. So Chicago Cubs have to figure something else right there. I think that there is something more. We have to find a position player. Point number two, we need to find a position player, guys, that can add some pop to the lineup. It can either be at second base or it could be at third base. But we need to find another piece, another infield piece with some pop. I'm even willing to give up some defense. If we can trade for a second baseman, or we could trade for a third baseman that offers more pop, especially at Wrigley, I'm almost willing to trade for that and give up superb defense in an effort to get more runs, to get more home runs, to get more pop. Sure, the strikeouts are going to be more. But I have one player in mind that I was talking with you guys on, some of you guys online on X yesterday about, and that player is Eugenio Suarez, or Gino as he likes to be called. But he mashes at Wrigley, mashes, and he just broke his record. He didn't break a record, but he also, I believe, just hit his 300th home run of his career. Somebody like that, being able to place him at third base. And then maybe you could try Matt Shaw at second base, and him and Nico Hoerner go trade off on second base. But that gives you more pop in the lineup. Could you imagine putting Gino in Michael Busch's position? And then you got to go Ian Happ, Kyle Tucker, PCA, Gino, or you could do Ian Happ. I'm sorry, I forgot. I almost got Seiya Suzuki. You could do Ian Happ, Kyle Tucker, Seiya Suzuki, Gino Suarez, PCA, Michael Busch, and then do Dansby Swanson, and then do Nico Hoerner or Matt Shaw, and then do your catcher spot at the back end. That's a much more viable lineup and power punched lineup for home runs. We might have to look at a few different trades with the Arizona Diamondbacks just to see, I mean, what we could add to the team, because Arizona Diamondbacks are trailing around 500. Now, absolutely, they could turn it up in the second half. I mean, they are the defending National League. I'm sorry, I almost said they were defending National League champions. No, they are not the defending National League champions. They were 2 years ago. Last year, the Dodgers won. I forgot. But anyways, like I said, it's one of those things where you can look at the Diamondbacks and they could really start a rebuild with some of the pieces that we have and we could offer them. But I think adding somebody like Gino, who absolutely mashes the ball at Wrigley, is something that the Chicago Cubs should absolutely look at and something they should absolutely think about. So you look at that. And then you look at the fact that the starting pitching, you're looking at two pitchers for the Chicago Cubs that just are not cutting it. One we saw today, one will pitch tomorrow. That's right. I'm talking about Ben Brown, and I'm talking about Colin Ray. Colin Ray started off his stint with the Chicago Cubs in the starting rotation looking like a world beater. I mean, I couldn't believe what I was watching, because everything that I had seen online, nobody was fascinated with that deal that they signed Colin Ray for. You know, all the pundits were like, I mean, it's not going to be a game changer for the Chicago Cubs. And I, for episodes on this channel, came in and said, man, Colin Ray is really, really overperforming. And I mean that I was right on. I was spot on with that. He overperformed what we thought for 2 months. And now Colin Ray has come back down to earth. He's now come back down to who he kind of was in Milwaukee. He can get you outs. He can eat up innings. Some days he's on and some days his stuff is going. But also he will make mistakes and he will leave balls right over the plate. And you cannot do that against somebody like a Cal Raleigh. You cannot do that against teams like, like the Brewers, especially with the wind blowing out. Now, Craig Counsell is going to give, I believe, Colin Ray every opportunity to keep his starting job. I do think he'll end up pitching in Houston, unfortunately. But to me, I look at this and I say to myself, there has to be something more. And that's on Jed Hoyer. Jed Hoyer has to look at Ben Brown and Colin Ray, and he has to figure out what the hell he's going to do. Because the Chicago Cubs cannot continue to expect to win the division if, A, you're not getting any production or at least a lesser form of production from the back end of your batting order, and you have 2 games, pretty much almost 3, that you could pencil in where you might win, but you're probably going to lose. And that's Ben Brown, and that's Colin Ray. And if you lose by 1 run, if you lose by 2 runs, that's different. But to have your starter come in and give up 6 runs, 3 home runs, that's tough. It will not be any easier for Ben Brown in St. Louis. It's going to be hot in St. Louis all week long. 90s, upper 90s, all week long in St. Louis. Wind might be blowing out, or there might not be any wind at all, so the ball just might travel. Ben Brown has 2 pitches. A curve and I think it's a 4-seam. Curve and a fastball is what he got. And if he's not locating the zone on that fastball and overpowering you, then that curve the teams are not going to bite on it. And he will struggle, and he will walk guys, and then he'll give up the big inning. And we've seen the story time and time again. This is the same Ben Brown that also went into Milwaukee and almost got a no-hitter. But that was last year. This is this year. And to be quite honest with you, we've seen more bad from Ben Brown than good. And that's just what it is. So as Chicago Cub fans, what are we to expect? What are we to look for? We're to look for Jed Hoyer to make some decisions. And this brings me to my last point. The Chicago Cubs need something that they have not had in a long time. And I don't even want to take credit for this. Like, this was my idea because I didn't even think about this. Like I said, I was just on X having a conversation with the guys about the Chicago Cubs, and I was just talking. And Michael Bowling is the guy that actually talked to me about this on X, and he brought up a good point. He was like, the Chicago Cubs have not had in a long time. Matter of fact, I'll just read the tweet. It's been a long time since the Cubs had a flame-throwing starting pitcher. And every June, July, and August, the guys who were great in April and May get shelled because they can't strike people out. Can't use the wind if you can't hit the ball. And there you go. It was all so simple. So what are the Chicago Cubs missing? A flame-throwing starting pitcher. Now listen, hear me out. Chicago Cubs have pitchers that got good stuff. Shota Imanaga ain't lighting up the gun. He's not. Shota Imanaga is not lighting up the gun as good as he is. Ben Brown might be able to light up the gun if he can find if he can locate the strike zone. But he's still very young and still trying to figure it out. But I'm talking about somebody that can consistently hit 99, 100, 101, triple digits. A flamethrower. We look at Jake Arrieta. We look at Yu Darvish, two names that was brought up in that conversation I had. And to think, guys, Yu Darvish actually was shocked when the Chicago Cubs traded him to the Padres. He thought he would be a Chicago Cub for life. And to think now, if you look at his stuff still plays. It still works. In every field, very rarely do you ever see Yu Darvish getting tuned up. He's still one of the hardest guys to hit in the game. Part of the reason why San Diego is still in it against the Dodgers and the Giants. Health has only been the only concern with Yu Darvish. Now, obviously, I don't really want to talk about Jake because I don't want to tarnish his name, like I said. But you know, you've heard the rumors about what the people thought Jake Arrieta was doing and why he had such a dominant season like he had. But I mean, flamethrower. He's a huge part of why that Chicago Cubs team in 15 and 16 saw the success that they did, because it was damn near impossible to hit Jake Arrieta. You literally could pencil him in for a win almost every time he pitched. But the Chicago Cubs don't have a flamethrower. Justin Steele is pretty good. He can get you 95, 96 when he's feeling good and his arm is right. But I'm talking triple digits. Location is on point. Triple digits. Just going to speed this ball past you. You just going to overpower you. I mean, to be honest with y'all, I don't even think Sandy Alcantara from Miami is that. He's good, very good. Will be an ace, but I don't know if he's that. That's what the Chicago Cubs are desperately missing. That and a position player that hits. Another position player that hits. Third base or second base are my two picks. Sorry, Nico Horner. Sorry, Matt Shaw. But if the Chicago Cubs are really all in on winning the Central Division and on trying to vie for a World Series, those are the two things you're going to need to shape up. I expect the Chicago Cubs to figure out the bullpen. I have no worries about the Chicago Cubs bullpen. They've had issues and things like that. Nate Pearson needs to be DFA'd tonight. Tonight. Do not let him ride the bus. If y'all fly a plane to Chicago, to St. Louis, you're lazy. Do not let him hop on the charter bus to St. Louis tonight. Let that man know, hey, bro, clean out your locker. Stay here in Chicago, clean out your locker. DFA'd. I would rather see you call up Luke Little and give him one more shot and see if he can locate the strike zone and throw strikes. That was really Luke Little's problem. He just couldn't throw strikes early on in the season. Plus, when you get Shota back, either Ben or Colin are going to go to the bullpen, strengthening up your bullpen. You already got a pretty decent closer, you know. So Chicago Cubs have some things to figure out. I have not hit the panic meter like some of you, but there are glaring spots that do need to be fixed and figured out. And it's up to Jed Hoyer to do so. But I want you guys to join in on the conversation with me. Let me know what your thoughts are on the Chicago Cubs and what I said. Who would you send back to the bullpen? Would you send and I might already ask this. Would you send, when Shota Manaka comes back, would you send Ben Brown back or would you send Colin Ray back? And also, what are your thoughts on the Chicago Cubs potentially trading with Arizona and grabbing Eugenio Suarez? I personally think that it would be a good move. I think that this guy could absolutely mash at Wrigley. He's known for it. He's made a living off of getting home runs in Wrigley Field. And then last but not least, what do you guys think, or who do you guys think as a flamethrower pitcher that Chicago Cubs ought to take a look at? Tell me in the comments below. Get into the conversation. Also, call me. Leave me a voicemail at 217-816-5498. Also, you can write me at cubsbaseball1992@gmail.com. Listen, guys, that's my time for today. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. We are in St. Louis. That's right. Chicago Cubs open up a 4-game set against the St. Louis Cardinals, and it's an important set. It's an important set. Ben Brown takes the mound against Matthew Liberatore, who is 4-6 with a 4.08 ERA. Ben Brown is 4-5 with a 5.57 ERA. Chicago Cubs at 46-31. The St. Louis Cardinals right on their tails, 42-36 on the season. Let's hope the Chicago Cubs can take 3 out of 4 of this series. I'm expecting the Chicago Cubs to come in and take 3 out of 4 of this series. If the Chicago Cubs could do that, that puts you at 49-32. That's perfect. Perfect. I wouldn't be mad if they swept the Cardinals. It's possible. You can do it. It's tough to do, to win four straight in a row. It's tough to do, especially playing at the Cardinals' home, because they hit a lot of freaking walk-offs. That's why their home record is way better than their away record. They stink away from Busch Field. But at home, they keep it close, and guys pitch out of their minds. So Chicago Cubs are going to have to be ready. So looking for Seiya Suzuki to stay hot. Looking for Ian Happ, who loves to hit at Busch Stadium, and hopefully Kyle Tucker will put his stamp on this series. And of course, you got to look at the St. Louis side. They have a lot of no names that are having success, young guys that are having success. But again, and they're not going to kill you with the home run ball. Nolan Arenado leads the team with 10 home runs. Chicago Cubs have 21 home run hitter and a 20 home run hitter. We got two 20-20 guys. So, I mean, like I said, you look at that and you think about it. I mean, Chicago Cubs have the power to do what they need to do. Guys just got to make it happen, man. And we got to see some success and some steadiness out of our starting pitching. Starting with Ben Brown. Ball's in your court, Ben. We'll see what you got. But yeah, man, that's my time for today. I appreciate each and every last one of you. Do not forget, Wednesday. Say it with me. Wednesday on X, on YouTube, on Playback, we are doing a watch-along. Chicago Cubs versus the St. Louis Cardinals. First pitch is at 6:45. Join your boy on this channel. The watch-along is going to be lit. It's going to be a good time, man, and I want you guys to be a part of it. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Chicago Cubs Central. I hope you guys enjoyed this longer episode, man. I might try to start getting back to these. Sometimes it goes quicker. I mean, it just goes without saying. I try to drop something for you. But I do think these longer conversations sometimes need to be had and things need to be pointed out. So we will. I'll try to throw a couple more of these up and definitely do some more watch alongs too. But yeah, this week, Wednesday, watch along. Cardinals, Cubs. You don't want to miss it right here on your number one spot for all things Chicago Cubs. It's your boy, Mike Jones. Thank you all.
Thank you for watching another episode of Chicago Cubs Central, the number one spot for all Chicago Cubs content. Remember to like, share, subscribe for more Cubs content.